Hey my dear Nightshades, it's Otti again. I'm sitting here in Oberhausen in the Turbinenhalle. The band besides me is TRAITRS from Canada.
Hello.
First of all, hello, yes. To people who just don't know who you are, what's your soul and heart of your music?
So we come from the post-punk world, I suppose. Cold wave, I guess, is the other kind of genre that we get classified into. So yeah, some of the earliest bands that we were influenced by were like Dead Can Dance and Echo and the Bunnymen, The Sound, Southern Death Cult, and from there. And obviously The Cure too is a big influence. So, but we try to put a modern spin on it. So we use a lot of electronics, and it's kind of more. Yeah, we just try to layer in different elements into it. Some shoegaze. So yeah.
And we are on the tour, Electric Sun tour from VNV Nation. So you are the special guest support, could say. What's your connection to Ronan and to VNV as a band?
Wow. We work with someone we've worked with for a long time, Thomas Tisson, and he was our label head with Freak Wave. We kind of have a strange connection with that because previously we kind of grew up in the same scene as Holygram. And Holygram had toured with VNV Nation. And so after Holygram toured with VNV Nation, we went on tour with Holygram. Basically, from there, Ronan had reached out to Thomas and said that they were looking for support, and Thomas had recommended us.
Yeah.
So Ronan was that was the connection in, and then
we spoke to Ronan a few times on the phone beforehand. We're traveling on the bus with them, so it's intimate, it's close quarters,
family.
Yeah,
they wanted to make sure that we were.
Not insane.
Yeah. that we had a connection with him, and that we really think this could work, not just professionally, musically, but emotionally, personally.
Yeah, so it helped. Ronan lived in Toronto for a long time in the 90s, so it helped us. We all live on Yonge Street at one point, so it was kind of it's the biggest street in Toronto, it's the most famous street in Toronto, so it was just kind of, the friendship, I'd say, has been kind of natural right from the beginning. So.
For sure. Yeah, we have a great connection with them. And in such a short period of time, I know we spend every day with them on the bus, but I mean, we just feel really connected to them. They're great guys, and
the crew is fantastic.
Just excellent.
Everyone's been very welcoming for us, and the crowds too. Yeah.
I think, for example, Ronan is a really warm-hearted person, so he just
he makes it easy. I think I'm a bit more awkward, so it makes it feel just comfortable right out of the gate. So it's been nice.
So let's have a look at the tour so far. I think tomorrow is the last part show of this part.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So what have been the most emotional or impressive experiences you made?
Oh man. Okay. Well, emotionally, I think it's once again the distance from home. That's always probably the hardest because we're coming from Canada.
Yeah, so we haven't been home. This week was 6 weeks. So
6 weeks.
We haven't been home for 6 weeks. So it's you get homesick. And
you do. That plays a part. So for everything it takes from you, it gives you something back too, like great shows and great experiences.
It makes performing that much more important because that's the part where we can kind of really let loose, and it's cathartic, and it feels nice to kind of let your emotions fly, and then you kind of you get sort of adrenaline buzz out.
And I think the highs too, like you said, are the shows. It's the meeting the people after, and
actually hearing firsthand from people how they have never heard of us before, and they just walk into a room and they're so excited. It's been and we've played some really big shows, and then we've played some more intimate shows, like in Paris. That show stands out for me as one that was just we've played Paris a few times on our own, and it just felt like they were really plugged into what we were performing that night, and the shows throughout have been really incredible, I gotta say. And yeah, the fans have been very accepted, much like the crew and much like the band. The fans have also been very warm in accepting us each night, and it doesn't, you never know when you're playing for someone else's crowd. You don't know what to expect, and you don't know if...
That's right. I think that going back to what Ronan was saying earlier too, is it was the connection he believed between the two bands is fitting well on a bill where people who are VNV Nation fans would enjoy us as well. And we are feeling that, and VNV fans are very, very passionate. They're very warm, and it's those shows are different. Like it really is a different environment with those shows. And for us, it's just nice to feel that we're part of that family and that connection. So
yeah, it's great. And I think the VNV crowd is really open-minded, because I know from the other side, many post-punk people, at least here in Germany, are very strict on what they listen to. So they would go to a VNV show, for example, in most cases.
Very true. Very true. I think those genres, like getting so tight, you know, if like, are we post-punk, are we cold wave, or, you know, but we dabble with a lot of like electronics as well, so we don't play the same rules. I think we're a little more broad than that, and our mindset is a lot more broad. I don't want to ever be pigeonholed. I feel like put into a box, you know, with this. I just want to, you know.
It's the opposite of what we want to do with creating art. The whole idea is to be expansive and to try things and kind of live and die by the success of the idea itself, or the song itself, or whatever we're trying to do. And that's not, those genre things are for, you know, journalists and for fans to argue about. We really don't care at all. Like, we're just traders. We just do what we do.
Yeah, I think journalists like me, we needed to describe what is told. So
of course. But when we're at the airport and some, you know, a middle-aged guy says, "What kind of music do you play?" and you say, "Oh, we're cold wave," they don't know. And you say like, "Whatever, it's punk rock, it's rock and roll. I don't know what the fuck it is."
I see. But after this tour, you'll start off your own headliner tour here in Europe. Will you go back to Canada in between?
Yes, we go back home and try to sleep.
Try to collect our lives again, and then re-energize, and then come back.
So we're going to the UK for the first time. We're playing London and Manchester. We're going back to Spain. We played in Barcelona last year for the first time. So we're going to Barcelona and Madrid with Cellophane. So we're excited for that. We're playing the Dark Spring Festival in Berlin, which we're very excited for. Our friends Dear from France are going to be playing too, and we haven't played with them.
We're also reconnecting up again with VNV as well in Amsterdam. There was the Amsterdam and
St. Nicholas.
St. Nicholas.
The two postponed dates. So we're going to be able to make up a couple of them. So we're doing, it's something like, I think it's like 14 or 15 shows in a row. So it's a lot, and it'll be crazy, but in a good way, I think. We're
kind of used to crazy. It's kind of, you know.
But the postponements of those shows were because of Ronan's...
Yes, that's correct.
For you coming from Canada, so how did you deal with this, knowing, okay, we are now here stuck in Germany, we even don't know if it gets longer, it could be longer.
Yeah, it was hard because, like, I mean, it was, I think, 6 shows that were postponed, and we were really looking forward to them, like, especially the one in Berlin. And that the date that's being made up, we're in Spain at that time, so we can't do it. So it was tough to, and also just not knowing how many more shows, like, because it's 6, it could have been 8, it could have been 10, like, we were sort of in the dark about all of this, like everyone else was, so.
I think, we may have wore different stresses at that point. I mean, especially, you know, VNV are from Europe, they can kind of come home and just, you know, heal up, whereas then we're still in tour mode, but we're not touring, so it was different mentally for us.
So we're writing our new record while we're here, so we have a small studio set up that we can sort of write in hotel rooms, so we stayed near the Ripperbahn in Hamburg, and the craziness of that area was kind of a nice sort of source of inspiration, I guess, because you see wild things out there. So interesting people for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just try to stay busy and stay productive, even though we're,
and
off.
positive. It was tough because I mean it's tricky. Like I'm a vocalist. It's very tricky when the voice starts to go. It's really tough to say when it's going to come back.
Yeah, and that was a fear too about the first shows coming back too. It's like in the back of your head, you're like, what if it goes again?
Yeah.
Type of a thing. So it was tough. It was kind of like being very just cautious about your expectations for a while until by the second or third show back, you could tell even Ronan was saying he was feeling a lot better. So it's it is what it is. You try to take it the best way that you can and not destroy yourself mentally. But yeah.
Yeah, but now it's working out.
Yeah.
Tours going on. It's over soon. So I think everything went fine at the end. But talking about music is good because your last album is, I have to read, Horses on the Abattoir was 2021.
Yes.
So just a quick throwback. What was it all about? What was the inspiration of this album?
So we started writing that, like we mentioned before, during the Holy Grail tour. We were supporting Holy Grail, and again, like we always try to take our gear with us to write, because when we're playing a lot, you feel kind of like you want to be creative or you need some kind of an outlet. So we wrote it all over Europe. Like we wrote the lead single Magdalene, we wrote in Copenhagen, Denmark on a day off. We wrote Mouth Poisons in our friend Dominic's apartment in Frankfurt. So we're always, in addition to touring, we're also working, we're also talking a lot about what we want to accomplish on the record. So I think that record, to me, it just reminds me of that time period and just being away from home the most that we had ever been in our whole life. We were touring a lot. It was right before the pandemic. So we had the spring of 2020 booked off to record Horses, and while we were in the studio, that's when the first lockdown started happening in Canada, or in Toronto. And so we had to, it was just very, it stretched the recording process out until I think we finished recording and mixing by like the fall and had it mastered at the end of the year. So it just, we had to go back with masks on. We had to, it made it difficult, but it gave us a lot of time to really think about the record a lot and work on it more. And
I mean, we had always kind of written like a little bit on like the darker side, obviously, of like maybe life or experiences, and this kind of felt like it just kept pushing that. And emotionally and lyrically, that was a pretty tough time, and I feel that that record kind of naturally actually still wrote itself in a way, especially with where I was coming from. And a big part of how we write is that if we're not feeling it, we just won't do it. So a lot of it is on tone and feel and just where we are at that moment. And I mean, it's a beautifully depressing record. It's aggressive. It's also, there's everything in it. It's just
very
all,
tender moments
we
wanted to like, it's kind of like we were saying with the genres, like expand our sound. So try to do like this, the opening track, See How, there's no drums, it's just piano and textures and more drony kind of sounds up until 2 minutes into it. So we just wanted to just try that and just be patient with the record and be patient with each song on it. So a lot of songs started kind of like that, more as these sort of abstract pieces, and then we developed them, like Oh Ballerina was another one like that. It just started off as just a bunch of pianos, and we weren't even sure if it was a TRAITRS song when we started it, and then eventually it became one of our kind of staples now. It's funny. So I think it captures a really sort of heavy part of our life, and we went through a lot of uncertainty with even releasing the record and knowing when it would come out, and should it come out if we can't tour, and
we had gained a lot of momentum because
by
previous
2019
19 we were touring a lot, and there was a lot happening for us. And when you just pull the rug away and there's nothing left, it messes
with your head.
It does.
For sure. Yeah.
So we were happy to have it come back, and you know, it had a lot of relating to people, because at that point they were going through it too, you know, and
and our first tour back in the spring of 2022 was right when a lot of restrictions were being lifted in Germany, and people were telling us this is the first event or something, a social gathering that they've been to since March of 2020. So even those shows felt the same. Everything just felt like loaded emotionally in a different way than we were used to prior to that, and it was nice to know that we could provide that sort of levity for people and to give people something that they can look forward to, because this is something that we get that back in return from the crowd and from people. So it was really nice. It was hard and difficult, but you know, I think it brought us closer together, and it made us appreciate the relationship that we have with our fans even more so than we did prior to that.
Yeah, you realize at that point how important music is to, you know, for people. And you know, sometimes you think it's music. Well, other times I don't think that.
We were playing, I had a few conversations in the US, our US tour in 2020, with nurses and frontline workers and teachers, and they were just telling us how, because I was saying, you know, it's incredible to be a nurse during this time period and to be working in the medical industry during this chaotic period, and they were saying we needed music to have something to you know, to have some sort of like something to look forward to or get some energy out of for themselves, and they were appreciative of just us being able to provide that. So it was really, it's humbling, and it's crazy to think that, you know, something that just comes out of our head can actually, you know, help people or give somebody something to look forward to. So yeah.
Totally understand. That was something I was thinking about at that time. All those people, nurses, all front workers that had to fight with the pandemic, they also are people that need this music, this concert in the evening, some cultural stuff to get down and get all the thoughts away.
Exactly. And that's stuff that I think prior to that it never occurred to us at all. So it's
But I think hopefully this all is over, so we can move forward. You don't know what is coming next after pandemic, war in Europe and stuff like that. But I think this is what, for example, your music or dark music in general makes people feel. You have lots of darkness in the world, and you can focus and channelize it through music.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And not let, I know David Lynch talks about that as like understanding darkness or sadness, but not letting it consume you to the point where you can't function or can't operate anymore. And so that's something I personally fight with a lot. And it's nice to have a vehicle for that and an outlet for it, for sure.
Absolutely. So, but it's funny you talked about the material has been written in Europe at several stages. Now you're again writing in Europe, so your music is rather more European than Canadian? Something like this? Or?
I was talking about it recently because the weather at home right now is terrible. So
it's been snowing literally the entire time we've been gone.
I'm usually home around maybe this time, and I have like the big windows, and when it's raining and snowing, I do all my best writing because I'm just like looking outside and I'm just like, I feel it, I get it. So we do kind of split the writing that way. It still feels very divided, I think. You know, I do all the lyrics and some of the melodies maybe at home. I just need that space. But musically, we do bounce a lot of ideas here, and that's happening again. So on the next one, we're even toying. I can't say for certain, but we were possibly thinking of maybe even recording in Germany for the first time outside of Canada. And that's just us throwing ideas and see what sticks. But for now,
But Toronto's still a huge part of us too, and you know, our studio candle recording with Josh Carodi, who's an amazing artist himself and a fantastic producer and engineer, and when we really shape things with him, he's sort of like the unspoken member or the third member or something. Like he really contributes a lot too, and from
the beginning we've worked with him.
We've been working with him before we had a band name, and he was the one who encouraged us to just put. We had Witch Trials and Gallows Hill, were the only 2 songs we had recorded, and he said just put them on SoundCloud and just send out some emails and see what happens, and then that really got the ball rolling. Toronto's interesting. There's a scene in Toronto for sure, like a dark one in the late 90s and the early 2000s. There were a lot of clubs and stuff, but like a lot of cities all across the world being gentrified. It's shutting a lot of the cool venues and a lot of the smaller clubs where they can play alternative music and things like that. But people are crafty. They find new spots and spaces to have these parties. So yeah, it's the scene is getting a lot better in Toronto. That's for sure.
That's cool. And I think you mentioned SoundCloud, for example. The options you have as a band starting nowadays are really cool with SoundCloud, YouTube, stuff like that.
For sure. I think the outlet is stronger than it's been.
It sometimes feels like it's harder to get attention at first, or to just have people, like you can just put something on YouTube, but how do you get people to see it? It's still sort of like, it's still anomalous that way, but it's like anything. I think you just figure, learning to crawl before you walk and learning to walk before you can run, to sort of, eventually you'll sort of, if you're consistent at it and realistic about your expectations, I think you can eventually get somewhere with it. And because it took us a while to build an audience. Like we had 0 Facebook likes and no Instagram followers or anything, and to see where it is now that we have like a almost 300,000 or 250,000 monthly listeners on Spotify and all this crazy stuff. It's like that, back in 2015 or 2016 would be like, I would never. I'm like, how can I get 2 people to listen to this?
I wouldn't put money on
holy
that.
shit! Like so now it's like to be playing. The venue tonight is going to be like 2,800 people. Like it's when you. I think sometimes when you're in the moment. And you're only seeing things in sort of tunnel vision, I think you can lose sight of that, but we can take a step back and just be like, holy cow, we played a show at this place called the Holy Oak in Toronto, and there was literally 1 person there. Like that's just sort of how it is, and at that point we're going through a lot of internal struggle thinking like, can we do this? Is this realistic, or are you just going to be kind of a hobbyist musician? But Sean and I have always been very ambitious, and we always wanted to pursue this in a way that was like a lifestyle choice, and like we want to live like artists and have the freedom to have a life where we can just be our own bosses and do what we want to do from the heart and from our minds, and not be controlled by somebody or something. So it's the harder path, but it's been very rewarding for us personally, and to see our little tribe grow into this is really cool.
It's true, because sometimes from say like when you do start to where where we are now, it's like you can. Like we're going out opening for V&B and just walking in front of that crowd, it's like it says a lot. It says a lot about us too. Like we're here too. We're like how hard we've worked, and sometimes I think we never ever. That's the one thing, we just never take that for granted ever, for where we've come from and what we do and where we are in real time. I never feel it ever goes further than the reality of this is great, and this is having the best. This is the best. You can ask for more. This is a great thing to happen.
And if you think too, why you start making or wanting to be an artist or be a musician when you're a teenager or something, like to me this is living a dream. It's like we're on a tour bus and we're going to all these crazy places like Vienna, and we had a day off in Vienna and we're just walking around like, we're here because we make music. Like it almost is hard to even compute like at times, but it's great. And we always take the time to sort of like soak it in and really appreciate moment by moment sort of what's happening while we're here.
I see, but this was something I was talking about with Ronan about the commercial side. So you have, you can earn your living out of this now, really, and can say we are musicians full time, or?
We're getting there.
When we're here.
When we're performing and touring.
A lot of the time we are. It depends on like how much off time we have, really. But yeah, it's we're pretty close to doing that.
Yeah.
So.
That's a difficult thing to juggle too.
Yeah.
Is you have to sacrifice a bit of stability in order to do this, to have the flexibility to be able to just leave for 6 weeks. And if we talk to some of our friends who play music who, if you only have 2 weeks of vacation or 3 weeks of vacation and you have a family, and it can be difficult to, are you only going to tour 2 weeks out of a year? And, we've managed to sort of somehow, just sort of ride a wave where we can, do this for weeks at a time and sometimes months at a time.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty.
It's challenging.
It is
for sure, but I don't know. We're
rewarding.
Exactly. If you can do it, then
it's kind of like making that first step too, and that's very, very. A lot of artists have asked us like, what can we do? How can we, get there, or and we're still getting there ourselves.
Yeah.
But you also have to take that first initial sacrifice, whether it is your home life or whatever you're doing, and then you really got to make you have to sacrifice something.
It's difficult. It's very difficult, and I understand when Holy Grail called it quits, and it's like I believe me, I understand, because it's a difficult life to choose to do.
I mean, a lot of our a lot of artists that we're peers that we're associated with are kind of dropping out, or and I get it. I get it.
And it's also the cost of everything. Touring is a lot more expensive now, so that factors into it too, and the decisions that you're going to make going forward. So
Yeah, but I think if you go your way like this, you will get it.
Yeah,
even more and more. So.
You can feel it. You can.
Yeah, it does feel like something's changing, or people are figuring it out, or just learn. Like we played in Mexico City. We were supporting Lebanon Hanover last year, and it felt like we had never been to Mexico City, and it felt like everybody knew who we were too. It was really overwhelming, and that stuff is I don't know.
It happened in LA. We'd never been to LA before, and it was just like, what? Wow. So I mean, we're very fortunate.
But one last question, just because you mentioned you are writing material, do you have a plan when you want to do a next album? Is there or do you just say, okay, we wait till everything?
It will come out next year.
Yeah, realistically, and with vinyl production delays and everything, it'll be next year. But it's important to be 2 or 3 steps ahead, especially with writing, because writing can be a very fickle process, and you wind up scrapping 75% of what you actually write in order to sacrifice good material to get better and great material. So we have a process, and we always like to take longer with writing, so that when it comes time to put the record out, we're very.
We always call it the time test.
Yeah.
So we just we can let it sit for a bit, and then you come back and you go, oh, what am I thinking?
Yeah.
Or go,
it's a lot better than I remember.
Yeah.
So
that's
even though we're more experienced with it, it's still, there's a mysterious element to writing records where you always kind of feel like you don't know what you're doing or what direction you're heading in, but you find a way eventually. That's the thing. And so I think, especially, we're playing more than we've been playing in a long time, so we feel, I think we're ready to write. I feel, we're just playing the same songs every night, and it's fun, but it's I want to start seeing what else we can come up with. So not a definite release date, but we hope. It depends on how we're still trying to set up some shows for the end of the year, so it depends on that too. So if we're not playing, then maybe we'll record by November, December, and see. But we're very Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks very much
for taking your time, and I hope we'll meet again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this was really fun.
Bye to the people.
Bye-bye.